Revenge films.
At the time, I was living as an average family of four that you would find anywhere, with my wife and my two kids in elementary and middle school. However, I found out that my wife was having an affair, and so I spent a few years carefully collecting evidence until I finally got my revenge. In that time, I collected close to 100 DVDs full of video evidence, as well as other data on over 200 CDs, and enough copies of emails to make my back hurt. Most of the DVDs are footage from them doing it in the car, or going in and out of various hotels on repeat. As for the hidden cameras in the house, once I got a good grasp of their cheating schedule, I started rolling the camera for that. I think I did a pretty good job of collecting evidence secretly, and it seems like my wife didn't have a clue that I knew she was cheating on me. I had plenty of proof in my hands, and all that was left was to see when and where to drop the bomb on my wife. I figured this out while I was doing my research, that every time my wife would meet with her boyfriend, she would tell me,
"I'm going on a business trip."
But in reality, she would be taking paid leave from work and having her affair with her boyfriend. That day, my wife told me once again,
"The day after tomorrow, I'm going on a business trip for 3 days, 2 nights. So please, look after the kids."
My wife was in a grand old mood packing for her business trip, secret meeting. So I decided to say it right then and there. "That's fine, but before you go, please, sign this paper. Because by the time you get back, I don't think anyone will be in this house except for you." When I said that, my wife flipped her head around.
What are you saying?
She was in an instant panic, but I kept my composure and coldly replied, "Huh? Because you're going to see him, right? So I'm telling you that you don't need to bother coming back. Send my regards to your boyfriend." My wife stood there, frozen on the spot, unable to move a muscle. Then, as if she was talking to herself, she said,
What? You're joking, right?
or whatever nonsense. So I said, "Why don't you go and enjoy your trip? Because you're always going behind our backs and meeting up with that boyfriend of yours. Come on, hurry up and sign. It's easy, isn't it? All you have to do is write your name and sign."
No, you're wrong. It's a misunderstanding.
She became desperate to cover up a lie with a lie, and even rushed to delete his contact from her phone, as well as erasing all email history. But I'd already spent years collecting all of that, and transferring the data into hard copies, so there was no point anyway. In the end, my wife didn't sign the paperwork, and left her luggage as is, and simply said,
I'm sorry. I'm not feeling well today, so I'm going to go to sleep.
and as though she was trying to run away, she disappeared into the bedroom. The next morning, I spoke to her as if nothing had happened in my usual demeanor. But my wife? She was on edge the entire day. Perhaps she was scared of when I would confront her about the affair, or scared of getting divorced, but she was tiptoeing around me the whole day. Then, even on the day that she said she was going off on a business trip, she didn't leave. The kids would come home pretty late, so they weren't home yet. And I asked her, "Hey, weren't you supposed to leave for your business trip today? Don't you need to hurry up and get going? Isn't your boyfriend waiting?" When I said that, my wife dropped the plate in her hands, and it fell to the floor and shattered. I don't know what she said to her boyfriend to get out of the trip, or if she finally realized that I knew everything. But my wife ended up not leaving and staying in the house. Not only that, but that night, I don't know what she was thinking, but even though we hadn't done any nighttime activities over the last year or so, my wife tried to aggressively come after me. "Don't tell me you think you can seduce me into forgiving you. That's far too naive." I said that to her, and I could see the blood draining from her face as she backed off of me, and she buried herself into the covers. What on earth was she thinking? If she thought that she could use her body that had been used in all directions over the years by her boyfriend to try to get me to forgive her, it was so ridiculous that I couldn't help but laugh, especially when I don't even want to look at her face. I was fully ready to end things with my wife, but I'd already planned to get justice with her boyfriend as well, so I took my time. My wife and her boyfriend were having a double affair, so of course he had a spouse on his end. On top of that, apparently, he was pretty wealthy. And through my research, I found that he even had some relatives that were very high up in society. That's why I first sent the evidence material to his family home, and then I sent something else to those powerful relatives. Not long after, the boyfriend himself was the first to contact me. Are you trying to destroy my family? Because of you, my wife is demanding a divorce! You better take responsibility for this! Oh, please. You spent years having an affair with somebody else's wife. What are you saying? I have every intention to collect a settlement fee from you. Settlement fee? As if I would pay that! You should just be thankful that I entertained that used wife of yours! Even if you don't pay it, I don't think that family of yours is going to let this slide. What? My family? I could hear the panic in his voice. That's right. I sent something separate from what I sent to your house, straight to your family's estate. And they begged that they would make sure you pay the settlement fee in exchange for allowing them to seize all of the evidence. Oh, by the way, I've known about your affair with my wife for a few years now, and I've been collecting evidence this whole time, so don't worry. I have more than enough evidence that you would never be able to sort through on your own. How? He was dumbfounded on the other end of the phone, and I knew that for people like his family, the embarrassment of one person meant the embarrassment of the entire clan. That's why I knew that even if this guy would refuse to pay, that his family would never let him take that option. Plus, I'd already researched and found that one member of his family was a very prominent city council man. It would cause a huge problem if word were to get out about his family member behaving like this. It could potentially end his career in an instant, so I could imagine that he would chase after him, no matter what. And just as I predicted, the boyfriend first said that he would never pay any settlement fee, but in the end, I had quite the large sum deposited into my account. Apparently, the entire family got together and stormed into his house, and without letting a word out of him, they cornered him into paying the settlement fee. Once I confirmed the deposit, I sent all of the evidence I had to the family home. Now that justice was served, none of it had any value to me, and more than anything, I didn't want to leave it anywhere near me anyway. They could burn it or do as they wished with it. Not only that, but as the cherry on top, I decided to drop one more bomb. In a separate package that I had sent to them, I sent evidence of him having an affair with another woman separate from my life. Normally it wouldn't matter if that guy was having an affair with some other woman that wasn't my wife, but I sent it in hopes that maybe his wife might be able to use it to get her own justice, after all of the trouble that this whole situation caused her. The reason why I sent that to the main family home instead of his house directly was to prevent the possibility of him trying to erase the evidence itself. After being confronted with all of the undeniable evidence that I had gathered, I heard his wife demanded and successfully got a divorce. As for me, I made my wife admit to the affair in her own words, and I divorced her. I gained full custody of both our children. My oldest son was already grown up, and I thought he should make his own decisions for his future, and told him everything. I didn't tell my youngest everything, but perhaps he had an idea because he said he wanted to live with me. After the divorce, my ex-wife was left all alone, and she had to pay the settlement fee to me. She tried to come begging to me.
Please, give me another chance. I promise I won't look at anybody besides you anymore. I don't want to be separated from my children, please.
I got multiple messages from her, but it was so pathetic that it only made me laugh. Not only once or twice, but betraying us over and over again, then saying she won't do it anymore after getting caught, was an even worse excuse than a child could come up with. On top of that, saying she doesn't want to be separated from her children, yet lying that she was going away on a business trip and leaving her children multiple times over the years, all while being the one who cheated on me and her whole family? How ridiculous! That's why I never replied to any of her messages. Not once. In the end, her parents found out about her affair, and they demanded that she never set foot into their house ever again. Now my ex-wife wouldn't have my salary to depend on, and she would have to find a way to survive on her own, so she wouldn't be able to quit her job either. However, her colleagues started talking about her as the woman who had an affair and was thrown out by her husband. And I got a voicemail of her crying that she was being bullied at work and suffering and begging for help. But that was none of my business. If anything, she's only getting what she deserves. Now that I was single, even though I wasn't financially worried, I was honestly worried about taking care of my family and the house. so I decided to hire a helper just a few times a week, and that solved any worries I had. My work was busy, and I had to work quite a bit of overtime, but thanks to my oldest son looking after his little brother, I'm able to continue working full-time. Of course, I was shocked that my wife was cheating on me, but I think my children were even more devastated than I was. But they're both such good kids that they would never show that on their faces. And it only makes me sure that I'll never forgive my wife for the rest of my life. My goal from now on is to help my children get over this trauma, and hope that someday, they'll both be able to laugh genuinely from the bottom of their hearts. Until then, I'm going to work hard like my life depends on it.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.